Hello, everybody. Today we are going to talk about reflections. For this one, if you don't have everything already filled in, we'll kind of take a look. A reflection is a transformation in which a figure is reflected or flipped across a line. And you can really flip it over any type of line. It can be a diagonal line, vertical, or horizontal. Our focus is going to be reflecting over vertical and horizontal, and also the X and the Y axis. So when a figure undergoes a reflection, the line in which the figure is flipped is called the line of reflection. Okay, so the line of reflection is what you are flipping it over. All right, now a reflection does not change the size or shape, but it does change the orientation while remaining a congruent shape. So just like a translation, it doesn't change its form. It's still the exact same form. It's just, so it's exactly the same shape, the same size, everything. It's just flipped over. All right, and so when a figure undergoes reflection, every point of the image, the new figure, is the same distance from the line of reflection as the pre-image. So this will make sense when we start to kind of like look and see it visually, okay? And so this is what ends up happening when you are reflecting over the x-axis or over the y-axis, okay? So something to think about when you're reflecting over the x or the y-axis. So let me just draw that in really quick. Let's see if I can do that, right? If I draw in an x and a y-axis right here, and let's say I have a point right here and it's reflected in the x-axis. It says in, it's really weird. Sometimes it's over, reflect over the x-axis. Well, if I reflect over the x-axis, right, I'm crossing from quadrant 1 to quadrant 4. So the x value doesn't change, but the y value becomes the opposite sign, right? So that's why basically what we're doing is we're just multiplying the y by a -1, okay? Oops, didn't mean to delete all of my coordinate. And the same thing here. If I start here in quadrant 1 and I reflect in the y-axis, it means reflect over the y-axis. Well, then my y value is going to be the same, but my x value, I'm now in the opposite quadrant. So my x value becomes the opposite. So that's what the rules mean. And that's like one way to remember it. But again, I like this shortcut of if I'm ever, have something, I'm like, okay, well, this point was in this quadrant. And if I'm reflecting it over the x, it's going to end up here. So that means my x stays the same and the y becomes the opposite. So if we can use what we know about the coordinate plane and the sign, so like in quadrant 1, it's positive, positive. In quadrant 2, the x is negative, but the y is positive. In quadrant 3, we have both of them are negative. And in quadrant 4, we have a positive x and a negative y. So if you can remember those relationships, that can really help you out. Like as long as you just go, okay, this is what needs to be the signs. The numbers themselves don't change, but their signs will change. So let's take a look at that. So here, I've already given you the first image, and what I'm going to ask you to do is to go ahead and graph the new image. So with reflection, what I like to do is I like to actually go and highlight what I'm reflecting over, so that way I can kind of visually see. So in this case, it says to reflect over the x-axis. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and go to my highlighter here and see what's the thickness. That should be okay. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm reflecting over the x. Oh, that's very thick. Let's undo that. Let's see. Can I get that a little skinnier? Okay. All right. I think maybe because I was zoomed in. I'm not sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and try to highlight that slightly. Okay, so that's the line of reflection. I'm going over the x-axis. I need to flip over that, all right? So if I'm going to do that, that's a vertical flip. So I'm going to go ahead. I traced my figure already, so I'm going to use my Word document here to help me flip it. So I'm going to flip it over the x-axis. So I'm going to flip it vertically. Notice it just kind of flipped it over itself. Well, the whole idea is that it needs to be the same distance from both sides. So if we take a look at that, let's go ahead and see what that looks like, right? If I flip it over, notice that the P, in the pre-image, I'm trying to draw my screen, I can't do that there, I do it here. Okay, that's one space away, and notice now my new one is also one space away. So all of these, this is one space, this is one space, this is 1, 2, 3, all right, my new L, 1, 2, 3. And again, I would go through and I would label these as L prime, F prime, P prime. Now you don't have to write your letters upside down, but I flipped it, so, right, that's what it would look like. Okay, and also same thing, this is 4 away, so F prime is 4 away. So everything is the same, so that way my shape stays the exact same, right? The only thing that's different is the orientation of it. So I'd go ahead and record those new points, okay? All right, so then the same thing for example 2, all right, if we reflect it over the y-axis this time, okay, so let's go ahead and highlight that one. Let me scroll it down just a little bit. Okay, so again, I like to highlight or color my line of reflection so that way I don't accidentally go the wrong way, which is a common mistake there. Okay, let me see, let's undo this flip. Let's flip that back up. Actually, let me copy, paste. Oops, undo. All right, paste. Okay, we'll bring this guy back and let's flip him back to the original. Okay, so here, all right, so again, same thing. Now I don't have to use this flipping tool just to show you. If I'm flipping it over the y-axis, let's do it in green this time. All right, F is one space away from that line of reflection, so it's going to go in the opposite direction. F would go here. L is 4 spaces away from my line of reflection, so it's going to be over here. Notice it just became, instead of a positive 4, my X value is now negative 4. I was at 3 away, so now it's at negative 3 away. P was at 1, so P prime, and I could copy it. And I would use a ruler for this, but yeah. Okay, so we see that idea there. And let me actually go ahead and I will delete that one. We don't need that one. All right, so again, it's all about the line of reflection, right? So highlighting it. Now these ones, they flipped completely into a new quadrant. Sometimes though, you're going to get shapes that are going to kind of flip over themselves. So for example, here in example 3, right? Notice where it says reflect over the y-axis. All right, so let's go ahead and highlight what we're reflecting over. Okay, so we're reflecting over the y-axis. And so because of that, all right, so this F, right, it's 2 spaces to the left. So if I'm going to reflect it, it's got to go 2 spaces to the right of my line of reflection. So 1, 2. So essentially, I am flipping this image over itself, and it can look confusing. So I'm going to stick with the 2 points over here. So this one is 1 space away, so it's going to go here. And then I'll go ahead and do these guys. L, he was 4, so it's going to be 4 spaces away on this side. And I was 2 spaces, so I prime. And again, very, very important, I would label your points as you graph them. Otherwise, it is very easy to get them mixed up. And that you please use a ruler. Don't be like me. Okay? All right, so this case, we're still flipping over the y-axis. It's not, I just want you to know that it's not always going to, your shape does not always have to be in one specific quadrant, right? I'm kind of flipping the shape over itself in this case, right? Okay, so now the other example here, now this is what if it's not an X or a Y axis? Well, okay, it says reflect over Y equals 1. Well, remember Y equals, that is a hoi. So Y equals 1, where does Y equal 1? It is right over here. So it's this. Okay, I'm not really sure how that happened. All right, let's try that again. All right, apparently I need to, I want you to be at the 1, not negative 1. Okay, so again, same rules apply. It's just in this case, right? Now this is our line of reflection. So there's 1, 2. This isn't, okay, apparently it just wants to keep drawing over, like moving. So it's 2 places away. So I got to start from my line of reflection. There's no real rule for this. This one you do have to just kind of count it out. All right, so 1, 2. So 1, 2 would be right here. Seriously, dude. It's got a mind of its own. I'm really not sure. Okay, let's try it this way. What if I don't use my pen? 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2. No. All right, I guess I'm just going to have to move the point after all is said and done. 1, 2. That's I. All right. So 2 away, this is P. And I'm not labeling this because it's jumping all over the place right now. All right, L. Again, if we take a look, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So I'm going to start at the line of reflection and go 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's right there at -3, 4. Saying that so I can go back and trace it right there. And then my F it was at my line of reflection is 1, and I went to 6, so that's 5 away. So 5 away in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to put me right there at -4. And I would go ahead and connect these and label this. So this is P prime. Again, not really sure why it's doing that. This is I prime, this is L prime, and that is F prime. Okay, you guys get the point. Hopefully my computer is not cooperating here. Let's see, can we move you up? All right, move you up. It doesn't want to let me ungroup that, but you get it. All right, so it doesn't matter the where your line of reflection is, but we do just want to make sure that if we were to kind of look at these points, F prime, right, we ended up getting it's at 1, so the X value didn't change, but it's not just the opposite of the Y value because we kind of shifted it up a little bit, right, our line of reflection, so it's actually -4. L prime, the X value didn't change, but our Y value is -3. I prime was, X value doesn't change, and that's -1, and P prime 1 and -1 as well. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video, and I will go ahead and wrestle with my computer here to make sure I have a draw-it-in version for you that you can check your answers for. All right, so go ahead and pause and try example 5. All right, guys, how'd you guys do? Remember, x equals -1 is a vertical line. That's our karate chop Vux. Okay, and we can see that it's 2 places to the right, so we needed to do the opposite, 2 places to the left, and there are the coordinates you should have gotten. Okay, make sure to ask any questions, clarifying questions, and then again, let's go ahead and pause and apply what you've learned so far. So for example 6, what I would like you to do is instead of drawing the image out, can you apply the rule for what will happen when you flip the figure over the x-axis, and then based on the given information, what happened and how do you know? So go ahead and pause, and then when you're ready, come back and check your answers. Alrighty, so in example 6, when you flip over the x-axis, that means that the x value stays the same and the y value becomes the opposite of what it was. And in example 7, I was making observations and I noticed that the x value became the opposite and the y value stayed the same. So that meant that this was a reflection over the y-axis. Let me know if you guys have any questions and we'll make sure to have some practice in here. Take care.